right, I am here with Matt Hoklotubbe. He is a film producer and runs entertainment partnerships at Influential. Influential is the largest influencer marketing company and platform in the world. They have a network of over 3.5 million creators. They have 90% of the global influencers that have over 1 million followers. All of them are in their network. And this network services over 300 brands around the world. Matt also has a unique perspective about being a filmmaker with that hands-on, firsthand experience in production, marketing, and distribution, and also having that 3,000-foot view of seeing how the bigger entertainment companies are working with influencers and creators. And so all this makes him incredibly qualified to talk to us about influencers, creators, and movie marketing. So hi, Matt. Thanks for being here.
Christy, thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to talk about influencers, creators, and we'll get into the difference between the two pretty soon.
Yes. I mean, actually, let's start with that. Tell us, what is the difference between an influencer and a creator, and how does that change how you might work with them?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a question we get asked all the time, and we typically have to align with the brand or movie marketer at the very beginning. What are we calling them, and what is that difference? Easiest place to start might be influencer. That is typically a catch-all for all different types of digital content creators, lifestyle. In this case, it might be creators who follow or create movie content, creators who create cooking content, all different types. When we talk about creators for movie marketing, oftentimes, we're thinking about creators the same way most of the people that are watching this are thinking about creators. Creators who develop their own content. I like to think of them as almost like independent movie marketers in a way.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think is a great, idea to team these creators up with independent filmmakers. So I think of these creators as folks that will bring their own vision, oftentimes pitch us back concepts that are better and more in line with their audience than anything that we were thinking of. And we like to give those types of creators a lot of room to flex their own creative skills.
I guess that makes sense. They know their audience best, and you're trusting them to deliver a message to your message of whatever that film is to that audience. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I think, when a lot of brands think about influencers, they are content makers who feed the product into their everyday lives and make it feel very native and organic and authentic, as if it's very clear that it's an ad, but it should feel like, their connection to this product is very ingrained in their everyday lives. I think when it comes to movie marketing, a lot of the creators we work with, they're making ads. They're excited to make something that is very clearly an ad, but something that is entertaining and sometimes educational and within the same format that they make every single day, but they're not hiding the fact that it's an ad. And so we work with all different types across the entire spectrum, and there's definitely a lot of great purpose for each type. So no judgment with either terminology, but we usually align with the brand at the very beginning of the process, how we're referring to them.
And typically, when you say brand, are you referring to studios, streamers? I know it's hard to talk about clients, but can you roughly give us an idea of who is a brand to you that you're working with?
Yeah, so my job in Influential is to manage a lot of our film, TV, studio, streaming, theatrical exhibitors. AMC is a big client of mine that I'm really excited about, helping Gen Z get excited about going to the movies again, which
nice.
We're all aligned on. And then, I also work with, let's say a streamer. Sometimes we'll do brand marketing. So a lot of my job is marketing specific titles, but oftentimes I'm also marketing maybe a brand refresh, or maybe a streamer is marketing a specific component of their offering. So it's not necessarily talking about specific titles or individual titles, I should say, but maybe talking about a library offering or a new offering like live TV or live sports. So that is also something I cover here. So it's not just titles, but entertainment as a whole.
Okay, so also the brand of that entertainment platform. So not just their individual titles, but maybe what that brand represents, and getting that brand like AMC in front of that younger audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AMC is a great example of somebody who has lots of different types of offerings, from their loyalty program to specific titles that we might team up with the studio on to market jointly. Cool. They're a really interesting brand that is doing incredible things this year, and I'm excited for everybody to see some of the content we're working on with them.
Oh, I'm excited. I want another Nicole Kidman introduction to when you walk into that theater. It was honestly, I really enjoyed it. And I just love how the internet reacted to it. I feel like that was propelled by influencers and creators who love going to the movies. I feel like they helped make that happen with the love they gave online.
Yeah, that's an interesting anecdote there, because one thing that I see come up with a lot of movie marketers is being very cognizant of what's already going on online. Like, one of the things that I feel like big studios and even small studios don't necessarily want to interfere with is what is already happening organically, right?
Mm.
Why work with an influencer, possibly pay an influencer to do something that is already being done? Now, you can find ways to kind of maybe add a little tinder to that energy and flames, but more often than not, we're trying to do our own thing with influencer marketing and hitting specific goals from the client, whether that's awareness or conversion or ticket sales in the case of theatrical campaigns.
I think there's also a fear, and we're getting more into brands than the independent filmmakers and kind of industry we work with here. But there's a little bit of a fear, right? You don't want to look foolish. You don't want to, I don't want to call out any political party who maybe was trying some TikTok moves to try and connect with the young people, but it doesn't quite, it's tone deaf or it's the wrong vibe or something. And so it sounds like instead of the brand trying to have a presence on social media, it's working with that's a reason to work with influencers and creators instead. I think you can learn a lot about the position, the opportunity, and the work you do of just walking someone through your day to day. So what does your day to day look like? Are you working with influencers? Are you building those relationships? Are you working more with the entertainment partners to help them craft that message? I guess, how did you split your time in this role?
Sure. I'd say about 50% of my time is working with getting a campaign off the ground. And that requires, a lot of new pitches to clients, helping them build out strategy, proposing, our recommendation for how they should build their influencer campaign. And then kind of helping that get off the ground. That includes a lot of sourcing, a lot of conversations with talent. We have an excellent team here at Influential. Every single part of that process has an expert on our team. And my job is to kind of a lot of times get out of the way and make sure it stays on track and make sure, our plan is in place. And once a campaign is off the ground, our job doesn't stop there. A lot of our work on an influencer campaign is monitoring the campaign, the performance, and also monitoring the paid media that goes along with that campaign. So we have an excellent paid media team. We're doing full recaps. And so a lot of my time is also spent like monitoring the execution. I also get pulled into a lot of entertainment partnership conversations. One of those is, we are trying to get influencer content, or we're currently in the process, and we have great examples of this work with National Cinemedia. We are putting influencer content on movie screens before a movie starts. And so part of my job is, monitoring the slate of entertainment campaigns, but also that business development. How do we form new partnerships with studios and extensions like NCM, so that we're thinking beyond just like influencer content on a phone or on a computer screen, and thinking about that medium and that content creation process is something to get a brand's messaging, a movie's campaign onto lots of other screens. We call that Influential 360. So we're putting, content on the screens of gas stations, CTVs, movie screens, and in some cases, the sides of buildings.
Oh, whoa. That's incredible. If you are a creator storyteller that's used to operating through, a cell phone medium to reach people, to then be on a big screen, to be on a movie theater screen, for that type of pre-roll content, that's got to feel pretty cool for those influencers and creators.
Yeah, and I think this all goes back to like the way we think about influencers and content creators as these independent marketers. Like, we think past, the actual screen and medium that they're making it for. And we're thinking about them as people who know their audience better than anybody else. And that audience is, typically, who the brands want to reach, whether that's a paid audience or a native audience. So that audience might not just be on the phone. It might be, at a movie theater. It might be at the grocery store. It might be in your car. It might be, at home while you're watching TV. These content creators, I think, are more than just the facilitator of or distribution of this content. They add to the creative scope of your campaign.
Cool. Also, I want to throw out one of the partnerships we're trying to lock down with you. It's actually between Picture Motion and Influential, about how can we work with, how can we bring some of our clients to the influential side and bring some of the influential influencers to the impact side. So I always love those partnerships conversations with you. But I want to go a little bit deeper into like what this looks like. So what can you give me some examples? Like you don't whether it's a one-off marketing campaign from for a particular film, or go deeper into some of the partnerships you described, because I think I know most of our audience is made up of independent filmmakers and those working in the entertainment industry who are looking to apply what you do to their campaigns or envision a way to work with you. So paint a picture for us.
Yeah. So at the very beginning, our goal is to understand who the audience is. I like to think about our process as like, first you want to analyze and you want to plan, then you want to execute. That first step is analyzing who is your audience and how are we going to reach that audience. And, oftentimes it's kind of split into two segments. One is like, who's your known audience? There are, various ways that you can, a lot of the content I work on is like, we all know these days, a lot of it's sequels or pre-known IP or with stars, right? You try to understand like who's like that go-to audience that you expect will show up first. That's always, probably number one for an awareness campaign. Then we also try to identify who are the growth audiences, and what are some of those overlapping affinities that audience may have that, may not be your, primary audience, but is a secondary consideration. So that's step number one, is understanding who your audience is. We have various tools to determine that at Influential. We have a very sophisticated strategy team who is way smarter than me, who's able to pull a lot of social listening, or we can look at, who are some audiences from similar films, or maybe if it's a geographically specific or culturally specific film, we can look into building new custom audiences so that, say your film's only playing in Houston and it's targeted towards Latino Americans. That is a very, distinct audience, and let us build a strategy through influencer and social media that is specifically targeted at that audience. So step number one, analyzing your audience. And step number two is putting that plan together. And so from my perspective, there are two different ways you can do this. One, I think about educational content and entertainment content. Educational, depending on what the subject matter is, can give you a sense of like, either it's a review of the film or a tease of the concept, or if it's a true story, making sure audiences understand, what the hook of this true story is. So leading them to, see the bigger version of it in theaters. Another route you can take is working with more entertainment creators, creators who have their own ideas for how to feed the themes, the plots, the character types of your film into formats or familiar concepts that they often film. We're doing that right now with a streaming show where it's a comedy, takes place in like a deli, and we're having creators do their own sketches that are kind of imagining what if their world was similar to the TV show that they're marketing. And so we're giving them, these creators are like writing full-on scripts,
Oh, wow.
producing these, and they're making like little short films to promote
Yeah.
this film. That's not always possible with every concept, but it's a route you can take. And so, those approaches are a good way to hit your known audiences, right? If you're a comedy, you want comedy creators to make comedy content. Now, sometimes you're looking for growth audiences, right? And maybe, a good example of this is I worked on this show that takes place at like a bed and breakfast. This was a couple of years ago. And we had a good idea to, how can we find bed and breakfast influencers throughout the country and have them pretend their home is haunted. The show, takes place in like a haunted Airbnb.
Oh man, I thought it was going to be Gilmore Girls. We said bed and breakfast. So like, all right, but it's haunted. Never mind. All right.
Well, maybe we can reuse this for Gilmore Girls with that. But so I wouldn't expect everybody who follows these cottage influencers to be movie fans or TV fans. And I wouldn't expect these cottage influencers to always be making film and TV content. But we thought it was a really cool way. This was like a broadcast show. It should reach kind of general audiences. It's a really good way to allow influencers who don't typically talk about film and TV to do something cool and special and within the wheelhouse of their normal content. And some of my favorite comments that we get when a creator like this posts content is their followers are like, I'm so glad you got that network bag, or I'm so happy that you're doing a film and TV campaign, right?
Oh,
So I think sometimes there's a sense from marketers, advertisers, and brands that an influencer ad could seem inauthentic. I think when we execute concepts and it's really successful, their native followers are so excited that they're getting the opportunity to do branded content. And that branded content is allowing them to continue to make their non-branded content. It's their life. This is their business, and we're trying to support that.
I love that so much. It's so I don't know when that shift happened. Maybe you know, but it did feel like all of a sudden, maybe it's a Gen Z thing. It's totally acceptable to be fully endorsing brands and fully pushing forward. It's like suddenly there was an understanding of, oh, if I want free content, it needs to be ad supported. The way it's ad supported in the creator influencer world is its integration and sponsorship. Just like in television, we need to have advertising breaks. And so, like, maybe we should be a little bit more forgiving about having to have some advertising breaks on TV. But somehow that just happens and everyone's on board with it because they want their influencer to be successful.
Yeah, and I can't help but think it coincides with like the return of AVOD, right? I think we got so used to like everything that we watch wanting to be ad free, and that model had to expand for various reasons. But I do think that kind of coincided with the rise of sponsored content and creators also just doing it better, perhaps.
Do you see when it comes to, I'm not sure if you would know this or have access to this data, but we interviewed a filmmaker yesterday, and he had an independent film that had the whole cast were influencers and creators, which is really cool. So he was looking at the footprint of that count as part of his marketing strategy, but found that this is probably the audience analyzing part. The majority of their followers are not huge purchasers of content. They will wait until something is free. And so if you're a streaming platform, great, it's going to be free, meaning it's already in their subscription, or wait till it's on YouTube. And because the release was initially a PVOD or TVOD model, there was not a lot of conversion, at least initially. And so I'm curious, do you see, as someone who's asking through these influencers, they're asking their audience to purchase something, are there any trends, and is it trending up or down when it comes to purchasing media or film and TV?
Yeah, yeah. Well, without knowing what the title is or what the service is, I've seen a lot of this. Just to get a little bit into my background, before Influential, I worked at this company called Newform. We were a very early studio founded by Ron Howard, Brian Grazer, to incubate with influencers and try to get them to and hold their hand through making premium content for film, TV, and a lot of digital platforms. We experimented a lot with this type of TVOD transactional model. And we saw something very similar. I will say that anytime you're asking native followers, so followers on their social media accounts, to pay for something that they're normally getting for free, that does present some a good amount of drop off, right? I forget what the exact conversion rate back then was, but it was pretty low. And when you add on perhaps a new service, so back then we were doing Vimeo. Vimeo had a new model, and we were trying to convert YouTube followers to Vimeo premium purchasers. So they have to
Interesting.
log in a new credit card into a new service, and that was really tough.
Right.
I would like to think that like we were pretty successful for being pioneers of that, and I wouldn't say they were failures at all. They were, they did pretty successful, but we definitely saw a very low conversion rate for the amount of influencers we saw. So I don't know what platform your filmmaker was asking creators to go to, whether that was Apple or Amazon or something they already have a card loaded up and an account created for. But I know that that is a major factor in calculating what that conversion rate will be.
He said the same thing. He was like, having that credit card loaded up, and I think not having to make a new account, those are two friction points that you have to work around.
Yeah, but Amazon, Apple, I'd be curious to see how that works for like a platform that they already have an account on, especially if it's just something that they can purchase on their phone, and it's like, it's using the card that's maybe through Apple Pay or something. I'm very curious as a father of small kids, how kids are, spending money these days. So I would love to talk to this filmmaker and learn why But yes, like that is a major component of this when we're thinking about like influencer created content on platforms off of their like socially native platform. I would assume that you're going to see more success with SVOD platforms that they already have, access to, whether that's Netflix, Amazon, or another platform that they are already watching. I can see that conversion being a lot better than trying to get what I assume are younger audiences to sign up for new accounts or pay for anything.
It's like anything. Yeah. How do we paying for things are harder, and then just any new account. It's how do you make it as smooth as possible? We've dealt with this where you have to make an account with us for film security reasons, but we have to make it as easy as possible. We added the Google sign on, we had the Facebook sign, like reduce the friction points as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's new, right? I assume the second time they come and check out a film, I mean, you would see much higher conversion. But that first time, friction is everything right now. So it's difficult.
And attention, trying to get people to pay attention for longer than a second. It's the number of times I put something in my cart and then I get distracted. So like what Shopify has done is
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm like, how do we be more like Shopify to exist in more places? What are some tips you have? So if you're an independent filmmaker or you're releasing your film with a distributor, but you're very, very involved in the marketing, what are some general tips? Do you have any ideas of numbers you could share to set aside in your budget, when your marketing budget, when you're developing it, or anything that you think every filmmaker should know or do before engaging influencers?
So without discussing specific numbers, because I think for every film that's going to be different and it should be, you should have this modeled out. I think one of the benefits to influencer content and digital marketing is you can buy off a CPM model. And so you can have an idea of how many impressions, if you're going through a company like ours, how many impressions you will get for your investment. One of our first recommendations is paid media. I would, without discussing exact dollar amounts, I wouldn't stop at just the native content, especially for certain platforms. I'd say TikTok right now, I would recommend always adding a certain amount of boosting, let's call it. Because throughout the year and throughout the last few years, we see sponsored content and influencer content does get throttled. It's different. There are periods of more or less throttling, but adding a little bit of paid media helps get it through that initial threshold. It gives it the best chance to find a broader audience and also reach, their own followers. So I'd say number one tip I'd give is like, make sure you set some money aside for boosting. Going back to an original point of mine, I think if you've done that work and you've understood your audience through that analysis, adding some paid media dollars will help you make sure that your content is reaching an audience that will have a better chance of responding to this content and convert it. The other part is probably making sure that you set some time and possibly resources into testing content, right? I think, I would pulse out your content. I wouldn't put all of your eggs in one basket and just spray and pray. That's a term we use often. I would pulse it out, right? Especially if you have the time to do that. Maybe you dark post some early content, see how that responds, and learn from how it performs. Learn from which audience is responding strongest to this, and then fine tune it as you go.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right, no spray and pray. Big tip.
Yeah, you can spray and pray, but just make sure that you are listening to the spraying and
pivoting quickly.
Then and pivoting.
Okay.
Yes.
It's like spray, pray, pivot. It's like we're gonna draw a diagram.
Yeah. A little prayer is always necessary in every influencer campaign.
That is going to be the tagline that we're going to end on. A little prayer is always needed in an influencer campaign. Matt, where can we find you or Influential online? Are you yourself an influencer? Where can we find you online?
I'm not an influencer. I feel like I have a very low footprint on social media.
You do.
But you can find us at influential.co. If there are any opportunities or films that you want our support on, our information's on the website. We have an email address at sales@influential.co, and somebody will get back to you, I promise.
All right, perfect. I'll put the links in the description too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this.
Cool. Thank you, Christy.
And that's our episode. Thank you to our special guest, our producer and editor, Ron Pissarro, and you, the filmmakers, creators, marketers, and distributors that are dedicated to connecting audiences with great films.